She blocked 911 while the baby turned blue? Accident? Or did she know?
My baby stopped breathing, and the only person in the room told me not to call for help. That sentence still doesn't feel real when I say it out loud. But it happened. And the worst part? For a few seconds, I listened. It started so quietly that if you blinked, you would have missed it. Dinner was normal, ordinary, the kind of moment you never think twice about. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The soft clink of a spoon against a glass bowl. The hum of the refrigerator. My mother Diane sitting across from me like she always did, upright, composed, in control of everything around her. And my son Eli, 4 months old, strapped into his high chair between us. He made these tiny sounds when he ate, little hums, like he was thinking about the taste. It used to make me smile. That night, it didn't. Because something felt off. Have you ever had that feeling? Like nothing is wrong, but your body is telling you it is anyway? Eli had been quieter all day. Not fussy, not crying, just quiet. Too quiet. I think he's more tired than usual, I said, watching him as he slowly opened and closed his mouth. My mom didn't even look up. He's fine, she said, scooping another spoonful of the pale green puree she'd made earlier. You worry too much. That was her answer for everything. You worry too much. I swallowed it, like I always did, because this was her house. Because I had moved back in 2 months ago after things fell apart with Marcus. Because she helped with Eli when I couldn't even think straight from exhaustion. Because she was my mother. Still, I leaned forward slightly. What exactly did you put in that? I asked, nodding toward the bowl. For just a second, barely noticeable, her hand paused. Then she smiled. Just vegetables, she said. Natural things. Better than that processed garbage you were buying. Something about the way she said it made my chest tighten. Can I see the ingredients? I asked. This time, she looked at me. Not annoyed. Not angry. Just firm. It's handled, she said. Handled. That word again? She'd been saying it a lot lately. Some things are better handled the old way. I didn't push. I should have. I know that now. Instead, I sat back and watched her lift the spoon to Eli's mouth again. He didn't react much, just let it in, swallowed slowly. Too slowly. See, she said, he's calm. That's how babies are supposed to be. I nodded, but my stomach twisted. Because calm didn't feel like the right word. And then it happened. No warning. No sound. Eli's head tilted slightly to the side. The spoon slipped from my mother's hand and tapped against the bowl. Eli, I said, leaning forward. He didn't respond. Didn't blink. Didn't move. A strange stillness filled the space between us. I stood up so fast, my chair scraped loudly against the floor. Eli? My voice was sharper now. Higher. I reached toward him. And that's when I saw it. His chest, not moving. At all. No rise. No fall. Nothing. Mom? I whispered, my throat tightening. No answer. I leaned closer, my hands hovering near him, afraid to touch, afraid not to. Why isn't he breathing? Still nothing. Then, I turned and saw her watching him. Not panicking. Not rushing. Just watching. Calm. Too calm. Something cold slid through me. I grabbed my phone from the table, my fingers already shaking as I tried to unlock it. And suddenly, her hand clamped around my wrist. Hard. Wait, she said. I froze. Her grip tightened. Don't call. Why wouldn't she want me to call? Why would anyone say that? I stared at her, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. Mom, I said, my voice breaking. He's not breathing. He is, she interrupted, calm. Certain. You just need to give it a second. A second? A second for what? I looked back at Eli, and that's when I saw it. The faintest shift in his lips. Not pink anymore. Turning blue. Blue. Not dramatic blue. Not movie scene blue. Just enough that once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. That soft color draining away from my baby's mouth, that unnatural shade creeping in, and my mother was still holding my wrist. Mom, let go. My voice came out thin, strangled, almost childlike. She didn't. You're panicking, Diane said, like I was the problem in the room. Babies do this. His body is adjusting. Adjusting? To what? That word hit me like a slap, because suddenly all the little moments from the last few weeks started flashing through my head. The unlabeled jars in the fridge, the dried herbs spread across paper towels on the counter. The time I caught her stirring powder into Eli's bottle and she smiled and said, just something to help his digestion. The way she rolled her eyes every time I brought up his pediatrician. The way she always made me feel young, foolish, dramatic. You're too anxious. You read too much online. You trust doctors too easily. You don't know what you're doing yet. Do you know what that does to you over time when somebody says it often enough? Especially when you're exhausted, isolated, and running on broken sleep? It doesn't just hurt your feelings. It rearranges your instincts. It makes you question yourself right when you need yourself most. And that was exactly what was happening. My son sat limp in that high chair, and part of me knew this was an emergency. But another part of me, the part she had trained for years, was still waiting for permission to believe my own eyes. His lips are blue, I said. No, she replied. You're seeing shadows. Shadows? I actually looked again to check. That is the part that haunts me. I looked again, as if the truth might change because she told me to doubt it. I stepped closer to Eli. His little hands, usually curling and uncurling, hung strangely still at his sides. His lashes didn't flutter. His mouth was slightly open, but no sound came out. No cry, no cough, no protest, nothing. Silence can be louder than screaming when it comes from a baby. I yanked my wrists back harder this time. Move. My mother rose from her chair, slow and steady, not like a woman witnessing a crisis, but like someone trying to manage a scene before it got out of control. Her face wasn't frightened, it was irritated. Lena, she said, lowering her voice, listen to me very carefully. If you call an ambulance over every little thing, they'll label you hysterical. They'll take over, they'll pump him full of things he does not need, and you will make this worse. Every little thing, my baby was not breathing. I should tell you something else about Diane. She didn't shout when she wanted control. That would have been easier to resist. No, my mother got quieter, colder, more precise. She made you feel like the unstable one. And she did it so calmly, you'd start apologizing before you even understood why. She took one step toward Eli and reached for him. I know what this is, she said. His body is correcting itself. Correcting itself. My heart started pounding even harder. What does that mean? She hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second, but it was there. And once I saw it, the room changed. Because up until then, I thought she was wrong. In that moment, I started to wonder if she knew exactly why he looked like that. What did you give him? I asked. Her eyes snapped to mine. Nothing harmful. Nothing harmful. Not nothing. Nothing harmful. The wording landed hard. Too careful. Too fast. My mouth went dry. I looked down at the bowl again, at the pale green puree smeared along the rim. There was a smell I'd noticed earlier and dismissed because I was tired, because baby's food always smells strange, because I was trying not to pick another fight in her house. But now it came back sharper, bitter underneath the vegetables. Earthy. Wrong. What did you put in his food? I asked again, louder now. She straightened. An herbal blend, very mild. My entire body went cold. How much? Don't do this right now. How much? Instead of answering, she looked at Eli, then back at me. You need to wait. Wait for what? For him to breathe again? For him to stop breathing completely? For me to obey? I reached for my phone again, and this time I didn't care if I had to fight her for it. But before I could dial, Eli's head lolled farther to one side. And I heard the faintest, weakest sound come out of him. Not a cry. Not a breath. Something worse. A tiny, choking gasp. Looking back, the signs were there. I just didn't think they would lead to this. That sound, that tiny, broken gasp, it should have erased every doubt instantly, but it didn't. Not completely. Because even then, even in that moment, my brain was trying to catch up to what my instincts were already screaming. Eli made that weak choking noise and my entire body jolted forward. "I'm calling 911, I said, my voice shaking but louder now, more certain. My thumb hovered over the screen. And still, somehow, my mother stepped between me and that decision. "He's trying to clear it," Diane said quickly. "That's good. That means it's working." "Working? What was working?" "What is working?" I snapped. But she didn't answer that directly. She never did when the truth was inconvenient. Instead, she shifted the focus like she always did. "You've been feeding him processed food for weeks," she said. "His system is overloaded. This is a natural response." A natural response. To not breathing? To turning blue? Even saying it in my head sounded insane, but when you're standing in front of someone who has spent your entire life positioning themselves as the authority, doubt doesn't disappear cleanly. It lingers. It fights. And that hesitation, it costs time. Time I didn't have. 2 months earlier, I moved back into that house with a diaper bag, a suitcase, and a quiet kind of defeat I didn't know how to talk about. Marcus was gone. Not dead, just gone. Checked out long before he physically left. By the time Eli was born, I was already doing it alone. The breakup was just paperwork catching up to reality. So I came back to my mother. And at first, it felt like relief. She cooked, she cleaned, she took Eli when I needed to sleep. She told me I was doing okay when I felt like I was failing every hour of the day. But slowly, subtly, things shifted. She started correcting me. Not in obvious ways, small ones. "You're holding him wrong. He doesn't need that much milk. You're picking him up too fast, you'll spoil him." Then it became bigger. "The doctor doesn't need to see him that often. Vaccines weaken the body before they strengthen it. Babies don't need chemicals, they need nature." Nature. That word came up more and more. And then the bottles appeared. At first, they were just in the background, small glass containers tucked into the back of the fridge or lined neatly along the counter. No labels, just liquids of different shades. Browns, greens, cloudy yellows. "What are those?" I asked once. "Herbal tonics," she said casually. "Immune support." "For who?" She smiled. "For whoever needs it." That answer should have stopped me cold. It didn't. Because nothing had gone wrong yet. Eli still smiled, still slept, still breathed, until today. Back in the kitchen, my heart was pounding so hard it felt like it was shaking my entire body. Eli's head sagged again, his tiny chest barely moving now. I stepped forward and touched his arm. Cold. Not freezing. But wrong. "Mom, he's not okay," I said, and this time there was no softness left in my voice. "There's mucus," she insisted. "He's clearing it. If you interfere, you'll interrupt the process." "What process?" She exhaled sharply, like I was being difficult. "The body healing itself. Healing doesn't look like this. Healing doesn't sound like silence. Healing doesn't turn a baby blue." And suddenly, something inside me started to shift. Not completely, but enough. Because I realized something terrifying. She wasn't guessing. She believed this. Completely, which meant she wasn't going to help me. Not now, maybe not ever. I looked down at Eli again. His lips were darker now, his eyes half open, unfocused. And for the first time, a thought cut through everything else. If I keep listening to her, he might die. I tightened my grip on my phone. My thumb hovered again. And this time, I didn't look at her for permission. But before I could press call, her hand shot out again. Stronger, faster. And her voice dropped into something I had never heard before. Low, urgent, almost desperate. "If you call," she said, "you will regret it." That was the moment everything split in two. The version of me that still listened, and the one that finally didn't. If you call, you will regret it. Let that sink in for a second. Your baby isn't breathing. His lips are turning blue. And the person standing in front of you, the person who raised you, is warning you not to get help. Why? What could possibly matter more than that moment? I stared at her, my heart slamming against my ribs, trying to understand what I was hearing. Regret what? I demanded. But she didn't answer directly. Again. Instead, she stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was letting me in on something important. They will take him from you, she said. They'll say you did something wrong. They always do. You don't understand how these systems work. For a split second, that hit. Because fear doesn't always come from logic. Sometimes it comes from exhaustion, from insecurity, from every moment you've ever doubted yourself. I was 27, broke, living back in my mother's house, no partner, no stability. What if she was right? What if calling made things worse? That hesitation crept in again. And right beside it, Eli made another sound. Weaker this time. A shallow, broken inhale that didn't fully come back out. I looked down at him. His chest barely moved. Barely. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped into place. Not gently, not thoughtfully, violently. Because suddenly the question wasn't, what if she's right? It was, what if she's wrong? And the answer to that was unbearable. No, I said. It came out quiet at first, but then louder. No? I pulled my arm back with everything I had. This time, her grip slipped. Not because she let go, but because I stopped hesitating. And that changed everything. I lunged forward, unstrapping Eli from the high chair so fast my hands fumbled with the buckle. He was limp when I lifted him, too light, too still. Lena, stop! My mother snapped, her composure cracking for the first time. I didn't. I pressed Eli against my chest, trying to feel something, movement, warmth, anything. Breathe, I whispered, my voice shaking. Please, baby, breathe. Nothing. Or almost nothing. Behind me, I heard her footsteps. Fast, now. Urgent. You're overreacting, she said. Give it a minute. A minute? He didn't have a minute. I turned toward the door, my bare feet slipping slightly against the kitchen floor as I rushed forward. Lena, she shouted again, louder this time. If you take him there, they will hurt him. I yanked the door open. Cold air hit my face, sharp and immediate. Good, real, grounding. Because everything inside that house suddenly felt distorted. Wrong. I stepped outside, and I didn't look back. The walk to the car felt longer than it should have. Every second stretched. Every step too slow. Eli's head rested against my arm at an angle that made my stomach twist. Stay with me, I kept saying. Stay with me. Stay with me. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my keys. Behind me, I heard the door slam open again. Lena, don't do this, my mother called out. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Because if I looked at her again, if I gave her even one more second, I might freeze. And freezing was not an option anymore. I got into the car, fumbling Eli into my lap instead of the car seat. I didn't care. Nothing mattered except moving. Now, the engine roared to life. I backed out too fast, tires screeching slightly against the pavement. And then I was driving, one hand on the wheel, the other supporting Eli's tiny body. His skin felt colder now. Or maybe my hands were just shaking more. Come on, I whispered, glancing down at him for half a second too long. Come on, baby. The road blurred. A red light appeared ahead. I didn't slow down. I couldn't. Cars honked. Brakes screeched somewhere to my left. I didn't care. Nothing mattered except getting there. Because now, finally, clearly, completely, I knew exactly what this was. This wasn't natural. This wasn't detox. This wasn't healing. This was an emergency. And I had already lost time. Too much time. The hospital sign came into view. Bright, harsh, real. I pulled into the entrance, barely stopping before throwing the door open and running inside with Eli in my arms. Help! I shouted, my voice breaking apart. My baby, he's not breathing, please! Everything moved fast after that. Too fast. Hands reaching, voices overlapping, a stretcher appearing out of nowhere. Someone took Eli from me. And just like that, he was gone from my arms. Ma'am, what happened? The question hit me like a wall. What happened? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Because For the first time, I realized I didn't actually know. By the time we reached the hospital, I already knew one thing. Whatever happened in that kitchen wasn't normal. The second they took Eli from my arms, the world fractured into noise. Controlled noise, urgent noise. The kind that means something is very, very wrong. Infant, 4 months, someone called out. Unresponsive possible respiratory failure. Get oxygen now. The words slammed into me one after another, but none of them fully landed. It was like my brain refused to process them all at once. I stood there, empty-armed, frozen in place, watching as a team of strangers surrounded my son. Machines, tubes, hands moving quickly, efficiently, without hesitation. No one said wait. No one said give it a minute. They acted. Immediately. And that contrast hit me harder than anything else. Ma'am? I didn't realize someone was talking to me until I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned. A nurse stood there, calm but focused. What did he ingest? She asked. Simple question. Direct. And I couldn't answer it. I don't know, I said, my voice barely holding together. Her expression shifted just slightly. Not judgment, not yet, but concern. Was he given anything unusual? Medication? Food? Supplements? My mouth went dry. Images started flashing again. The bowl. The smell. The bottles. My mom made his food, I said. I don't know what was in it. That answer changed everything. I saw it in her eyes. Okay, she said quickly, turning to someone else. Possible ingestion, unknown substance. Unknown substance. That phrase echoed in my head like a warning I was too late to hear. I took a step forward, trying to see past the cluster of people around Eli. Is he breathing? I asked. No one answered me directly. And somehow, that was worse than hearing the truth. Then I heard it. A sound I will never forget. A flat, continuous tone trying to break through the chaos. Not loud, but there. Wrong. My chest tightened so sharply it felt like I couldn't breathe either. No, I whispered, shaking my head. No, no, no. Step back, please, someone said firmly, guiding me away. I'm his mom, I cried. What's happening? What's happening to him? More movement. Faster now. Bag him. Push, come on, stay with us. Stay with us. The words repeated in my head. Stay with us. As if he had a choice. As if he could hear them. Minutes stretched into something unbearable. I lost track of time completely. Every second felt like it could decide everything. And all I could do was stand there, watching, waiting, doing exactly what my mother told me to do. Wait. The realization hit like a punch to the stomach. I had waited. Even if it was just seconds, I had waited. And now I didn't know if that was the difference between life and death. Finally, the chaos shifted. Not gone, but different. Less frantic. More controlled. A doctor stepped away from the group and walked toward me. Mid-40s, focused, tired eyes that had seen too much. Are you the mother? He asked. I nodded, barely able to stand still. Yes, is he okay? Please just tell me. He didn't answer right away. And that pause, that silence, it stretched longer than anything else that night. He studied my face for a moment, not coldly, but carefully, like he was trying to understand something beyond the situation. Then he asked the question, the one that would stay with me long after everything else. Why did you wait? The words didn't feel like an accusation, but they didn't feel neutral either. They felt heavy, like they carried consequences I hadn't fully seen yet. My voice broke. I didn't. I was going to call, but my mom, she told me, even as I said it, it sounded weak. Small. Like I was trying to explain something that didn't make sense anymore. The doctor didn't interrupt. He just listened. And then he nodded slowly. Not in agreement. Not in approval. Just acknowledgement. We're doing everything we can, he said. Everything we can. That phrase should have been reassuring. But it wasn't. because it implied something else, something I couldn't ignore, that there were limits, and we might already be close to them. Behind him, I caught a glimpse of Eli again, so small on that bed, surrounded by machines, a mask over his face, his chest rising now, but not on its own. Helped, forced, kept going. And in that moment, standing there under those harsh hospital lights, one truth finally became impossible to avoid. Whatever my mother had given him, whatever I had allowed to happen, it had almost taken him from me.
Would you have waited or trusted your instincts? Comment below.